Wait a minute. Now, that was not from the computer.
What?
That flashlight. I'm getting spooked out, man.
Leave, David.
I've been feeling
come
really
with us.
weird vibes ever since I got in your house, man. Are you sure there's nobody like in your attic upstairs? Like,
The door's unlocked.
There's no attic.
well, there's an upstairs.
What, you want me to walk around my house and tell you if people are here or not?
Yes.
Big vaginas.
Hey, man, I fell into one of those,
A big vagina?
a sand one.
I fell into a big vagina.
I'm not starting the show without my co-host. Actually, I will. Watch this. Hello, everybody. This is AJ, and I just want to tell you from the top of the show that we do have a Patreon open through our Podbean website where you get our podcast from. So we are hosted by Podbean, and you can now go directly to our website and become a patron for this podcast, either $1 or $5. There are reward tiers, and we are looking into expanding the reward tiers and expanding the numerical amount tiers. But right now, I mean, just $1 would change our lives. So if you're feeling up to it, please consider becoming a patron. But until then, let's get on with the show. I know David has a gun in his house, so we're safe. It's a 22. Won't do much.
Scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Please be David. Please. Wait, play dead. Is it David?
Thank you. Did you lock your door? Did you get your gun out for protection?
No.
Oh.
Well, then you're not actually safe.
I'll have to show you some bullets that I found.
What?
Because I had a box of 22 Federal ammo that I've had since high school.
Oh, wow.
And my friend and I were out in the country, and we were shooting his gun and my gun. And for some dumb reason, we had the ammo right on the thing that we were resting on. So my muzzle was right at the level of the bullets.
It's not
So I
good.
was looking down the scope, and so I wasn't seeing it. And so I was shooting. I was like, why am I not hitting? So the bullet went into the other bullets, and like there's a couple that are dented, and some that like and so I was like, I could have blown my, just myself to pieces, because that would have just shot the whole entire thing off. But for some reason it didn't. So there's a thing where it went through about 2 rows of bullets and kind of dented in, stuff like that.
We're going to have to check that out after this episode. By the way, welcome to 30 and Nerdy, where we practice gun safety.
Well, we do now, because after we saw that, we were like, holy crap.
Yeah.
that is-
Responsible gun ownership is the best gun ownership. I may not be for them, but if you're going to
own
have
'em-
them, be responsible.
And we also, technically, we weren't supposed to be shooting because we were just in high school, and the parents wanted to be home when we shot. We did not practice that.
Yes,
So,
Who's going to
that was
tell
not-
you no? You're
you're
the
a
one
teenager.
with the gun.
yeah, we were not responsible. And the funny thing is, I mean, today, you wouldn't be able to get away with this, but I mean, I had that gun in my trunk for like my whole entire high school career, and I didn't think about it. I mean, it wasn't like, I need to have my gun in my trunk. It just,
I mean, you did go to Grandview, so I mean, I'm pretty sure every kid went there loaded.
no, I mean, maybe
Probably
there
the
were
ones
some
from
people.
Runnels. You had a shotgun rat.
The Runnels
Yeah.
kids.
But I mean, because my friend lived out in, where's the women's prison?
Mitchellville.
Mitchellville. So he lived out in Mitchellville. And so, I mean, and I think I probably had it in my car from whenever I'd go over to his house and we'd shoot. And so I left it there. And then one day I was like cleaning my trunk. I was like, oh, my gun's in there.
That's
But
where
I
it went.
probably should not be taking that to school with me every day.
Well, you're lucky.
Yep.
And
Different time.
I'm glad that you were lucky because we're able to do this podcast with you. But anyway, my name's AJ.
I touched myself to Drew Carey on The Price is Right.
I'm ready.
I went to the petting zoo and I let the goat lick my penis.
And my name is David.
One time I put a firefly in my butthole to make my farts glow.
And what are we talking about today, my
The lucky
friend?
son of a gun.
That's a good question. What are we talking about?
You are one lucky son of a gun.
Yep.
You one lucky son of a bitch.
Don't talk about my mom like that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Son of a wonderful woman.
But today
But
we
your
are going to
mother's
be
a bitch.
Your mother's a bitch.
today we are going to be talking about, and my title for this one is going to be greatest game of our generation, and why it's Call of Duty. Technically, I don't think it's actually Call of Duty. I just want to have some kind of clickbait where people are like,
we're trolling you.
yeah,
Well,
we're
gotcha. Got him.
But I just want to kind of go through a few games that we think are not genre defining, because I don't want to go through each one. What's the best racing game that has brought us the best? Because I mean,
Because we're all going to say Gran Turismo 2.
yeah, Gran Turismo 2, or well, for me it's 1, or actually it's Need for Speed Hot
Wow,
Pursuit.
man, you're like all over the place.
Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is probably the one that got me into racing games. But
Or the Underground series.
Oh, those are fun too.
I mean, I don't want to go genre by
let's
genre.
Not, yeah, I was going to say, let's not get into this rabbit hole.
NBA Street. That's the best sports game of all time.
But fuck that, dude. Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, Tecmo Super Bowl, baby. Bo
Give me the-
Jackson. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson. Give the ball to Bo and play with injuries off, or else you're screwed if he dies.
Yeah, you
Or
could
gets
die in
injured.
that shit.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hardcore.
I remember there was a
Back
football
when we were kids, the football players actually died.
They didn't have to wait till they died from CTE years later. He died on the field.
And they stood up for our nation's song.
Back then, the football man did stand up.
He didn't know where he was.
Yeah, what's my name?
Who cares? Go out there and hit somebody with that head.
Okay. All right, coach, I'm going to get him. Coach, who's the one you want me to get?
But I kind of want to talk about, because I mean, we can kind of cut things off into maybe generations. But I think
Bad Star Trek movie.
wrong. Has Picard in it? It's an amazing movie. I don't care if William Shatner brings it down a few notches. Picard brings it back
Shatner
up.
is literally killed by a bridge.
Yeah. Isn't that a great ending?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that he lived.
Get off my
he lived
bridge.
on the bridge. He died on the bridge. You know.
I liked it. I didn't think William Shatner did a bad job, but I also am a fanboy of Patrick Stewart
TOS. Oh,
and TOS. Well, not TOS. TNG.
yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
anything, I mean, if they came back out with a movie now and all of them were in wheelchairs and it was just them sitting on Earth reminiscing about their good old days, I would watch that and pay good money for it.
Which stop the motherfucking train. They have already been talking about bringing back the Next Generation crew for what? A new fucking show. Boom.
Now, as long as NBC goes, you know what, we're going to have to get this special stuff. And like whatever their streaming service is.
Oh, God.
And then the annoying thing,
Well, it'd be CBS because
CBS,
CBS
whatever.
owns Trek.
the other annoying thing is that, I mean, I have watched, I think, 1 or 2 episodes of the new thing. The one thing I don't like is that, because what swear word did they drop in that one?
Fuck.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, because
I
for me,
didn't know
that's the one
that.
thing. That's the one thing I enjoyed about that. It was very family friendly, so I could sit there and, like, my daughter loved watching TNG with me, but I won't be able to watch that show with her because I don't want her sitting there dropping the next
I don't
somewhere.
think you're gonna have her start watching that probably because they cover. I would say that that's the Star Trek that really pushes the envelope into more, for the first time they had gay-friendly characters, they had homosexual characters. Roddenberry said that he couldn't imagine a future at all where that would be acceptable, even though he wanted it on his show.
Well, see,
Because-
that doesn't bother me. I don't care about that. It's the
But I
more
mean,
crassness of word being used. Instead of
fuck,
ideas.
Klingon.
I don't even think it was like said in that kind of context. It was the
You
way I see it's like kind of like
fuck.
a more realistic view of what being in Starfleet would be like, because it's going to be high tension, nobody's just going to be sitting there like, oh well, crappy poodle. There
Well, I
was a
understand,
thing
but
that
I think
happened. Data, put some classical music on because we don't know any future music. I don't know what voice I'm doing here, so don't.
I think that's Geordi.
That
Yeah.
is that is not Georgie. That's a baby that was had between Jean-Luc Picard's actual French and English, and then they just kind of had this.
Oh, hello, father. We.
Lieutenant Commander Data.
I don't know. I just expect give me that kind of language in a movie, so then I can see the rating and it happens.
I mean,
instead
like
of on a show.
every single Star Trek movie had shit in it.
And that's what I'm saying in a movie.
And
but
they always gave it to Shatner, the Shitner, or not Shatner,
Shitner.
Riker.
Riker said the S word?
Yeah, he said shit in the Cochrane one. He said shit
First Contact.
in the one where Deanna completely destroys the Enterprise.
Yeah.
I think that's there's 5 movies, and in all 5 of them, Riker says shit.
Huh.
Or 4 movies. It was a 5-disc Blu-ray set.
Is it, shit, I can't find my trombone.
That would have been perfect. But now he's all like,
Oh, shit,
oh,
the new
shit.
alien to have sex with.
It should have been, but no, it's usually like a big oh shit moment.
Oh, shit, this girl got 2 vaginas.
Now we're breaking. Now we're pushing the envelope. We're changing what the idea of what an alien race could be like. They have 10 vaginas down there. You got to get all 10 dudes in there. It's just like the Lonely Island and how they became huge because they all 3 hit that alien at the same time.
Yeah.
They all lost their virginity at the same time. Well, this episode has really gone off the rails. We're talking about...
I blame you, sir.
Yeah. Well, I was just excited about
The
bringing
new
back...
TNG. I am too. I'm hoping that it remains somewhat more wholesome. But going to era-defining games or games that we think have defined a generation.
It's a big question.
And I'm going to start with just saying, I think for me, the most defining game has to be Doom.
Yep, I was getting ready to be like, if you don't say Doom, you're wrong.
Because I think they created the ability to use the software that was at the time foreign. They came up with it because before I don't fully understand it, but I know that they made it so that the screen could move in a fluid manner instead of, because when you moved with the older computer screens, they would line by line, and they coded it in a way and wrote the software in a way that it melded well with the hardware and was able to give us Doom.
If you are a listener and you really want to know about it, I would highly recommend reading The Masters of Doom. It was a really great book. It's usually like $10 for Kindle over on Amazon. We're not affiliated at all whatsoever, but I would say if you are looking to find out more about the in-depth technicalities of the game and how Carmack and what's the other fella? He was going to make you his bitch back when he made Daikatana. And he put out a full ad in a game, like a Game Informer type thing. I think it was EGM.
John Romero,
the 2 Johns. That's right. They got together and they somehow created that system that you were talking about and it was the fastest thing that people had seen. So like early ID or id software, there was a dude that was on their software team, and he's sitting there playing it, and he's puking because he's never moved so fast in a video game.
And the cool thing about how they did it is that it was all 2D-ish, but they were able to make the art style, and when you look at it in the 3D model view or whatever they called it back then.
Everything was a 2D plane.
But they were able to work it in a way so that it looked 3D, and it wasn't full. It wasn't actually it was 2D, but not 2D, because there were some aspects I think about it, like with the doors and different things like that weren't. But it looked 3D, and it played completely different than anything, because I mean computers were really expensive at the time, so nobody was just like, oh, I'm gonna have a gaming computer.
I mean, like you think about the old screensaver, the May screensaver from Windows, and how slowly that moved. At the same time that was out, Doom was out, speeding you at breakneck speeds through levels that...
And they were making tons of money once Doom came out.
It was, and I mean, this is something I do miss about kind of like old school gaming, where you had shareware. So it was like, here's the first part of the game. If you really enjoyed it, send us a check in the mail, and we're going to send you the disc for the rest of the game.
And by disc, they didn't mean CD. They
No.
meant floppy disk
No.
or hard disk.
Yeah, hard disks they call them floppy disks because the inside is floppy. A hard disk is a
The bigger, the 8.5 or whatever.
no, those are also floppy disks. So like if the material that makes up the disk is soft and it moves and is floppy, then it's floppy. But if what makes up the disk is hard, like your hard drive, it's called a hard drive because it's made out of a solid platter that you're not able to bend or move.
They're very good at naming things.
So floppy stuff is floppy.
Hard stuff is hard.
Yeah. And don't buy the bait that there was a virus back in the day that was called the Monica Lewinsky that could turn your hard drive into a floppy drive. It was all lies. Because honestly, did you see how good she looked? That turned your floppy into a hard.
Jeez.
Time period.
It was beautiful.
Jokes. Gotta love them.
Uh,
But yeah, they were 1.44 megabyte, 3.5-inch high density floppy
I
disks.
still remember trying to like put songs into like a zip file so it would be able to fit onto a 1.44 megabyte.
You know what's funny is with Vaporwave, somebody released an album on floppy, and they were able to have like 8 tracks on one floppy disk. I have no clue how they did it. And if you have like one of those like portable USB floppy drives, you could plug it into your car and it'll play it. So it had an executable to play the music and all the tracks.
That's pretty cool.
Magic.
These vapor guys, these vaporwave artists
Seems like
are
a lot
on a different level.
more trouble than was needed.
Oh, they
But
love
hey,
they love dead format.
Good on you. I want mine on a Betamax next.
Ooh, that would be the highest.
They're
quality.
like this. The vaporwave people seem like they're the super hipsters. They're like, I love vinyl. Wait till I tell you.
Yeah.
Instead of mason jars, I just drink my booze off the floor.
I put it in a sponge and pad my tongue with a nice Pinot.
You know what's funny is that like they are all about the dead technology. So Sony came out with these super micro tapes that are like only an inch big, and they can hold a full album on them. And they released stuff on that. Then there was like the high definition audio tape. So, and you needed a special high definition audio tape player to be able to play these. And there's people releasing on that.
Needless
still
to say,
miss-
record
Which,
sales
I
are
mean,
not great.
If you think
For
about
that
it though, it's giving people a reason to go back and revisit old technology that's dead. And that's something I've always been into. Like I watch Techmoan on YouTube. I love him. He's a great guy. He in his hi-fi, he's like, look at this ultra rare thing you've never seen because only 2 artists ever released anything on it. But I've got one on my hi-fi. Let's go ahead and have a listen to. And it's just like, God damn, dude. You cray.
I like the mini discs. Those are kind of cool.
Mini discs
Besides that, they
are
were
still
annoying.
alive, though. And people still use them to this date.
I had a Bionicle game for PC on a mini disc.
No, not like the...
Oh, not physically mini discs.
Yeah, we're talking about the Sony mini disc.
Yeah, they
format.
looked like a tape, but they weren't a tape.
Oh,
It was like
yeah,
a.
they were.
It looked like a. Basically, it looked like a smaller version.
Guess what
of
they
the
were?
Floppy disk.
They were hard discs.
Were they?
Yeah.
See, I never opened one up to see.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pop the top off.
I had a mini disc player and about 20 mini discs.
I had a mini. I
And-
almost bought one, but my parents wouldn't let me buy one because my friend had it. And I remember that.
I could see your parents like, that's going to be a dead format in a couple of years. You're not buying that.
Everybody's going digital, David. Don't you want to go digital?
Should have listened to them.
Well, you know what though? I loved it because I would make giant mix compilations on my mini discs, and that would be my delivery music while I was delivering pizza. So fuck iconic video games. We're talking about dead technology today. We have the most clickbaity title, and you're gonna love it. Honestly, you knew what you signed up for when you hit play on that podcast. You're like, sometimes they're on point, and sometimes they're all over the place. I hope they're all over the place because that's my favorite.
I have another game to drop on you fools.
Spyro the Dragon.
Tetris.
Oh, I was actually thinking about that.
Yeah, dude.
That
Tetris,
is. I mean, it's still played today.
It's on every
Dr. Mario.
anything that you could play.
you
video
can play a
game on.
Tetris on a motherfucking calculator.
Yeah.
That's all I used to do in math class, which is probably why I was awful at math, but it didn't help that I didn't pay attention because I was playing Tetris.
Once I knew you could type boobs into a calculator, my math career was done.
Or if you were dope like me, boobless.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like the boneless boobs.
But Tetris, I mean, it's Tetris. If you haven't played it, you're probably dead.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle used to play that. I don't know every
My
night,
grandparents played Tetris. My
but
grandparents.
they would play for quarters, so they would play
Oh,
against each
yeah.
other, and so I think it had to be Tetris 2 because you couldn't play against each other in Tetris 1.
Right.
You had to be number 2.
Yeah.
And I remember
I think original the re-release on NES had 2-player Tetris.
when did they re-release it?
So there was like the initial release, and then like a year later they re-released it with like update, so you could play 2-player.
That could be.
And there's a new Tetris coming out soon.
Yeah, I
Now is that a Nintendo-owned property?
no that
Because I really
is
wish that they,
owned
because I would love
by-
to play Tetris on Xbox or
What
PS4.
company is
Is
that?
it still the Russian guy?
No. It's owned by the same people who do like Bubble Bobble. Taito.
Yeah. Yep.
Taito, I believe, still owns Tetris. I have Tetris on my PS4. And there's like 3D Tetris, like Sphere Tetris, plain old line Tetris.
Give me plain old line. Once you try and get me into this newfangled year 2000 crap, I don't need that.
Yeah, once that year 2000 version of Tempest came out, I knew my life was over.
Year 2000.
I got Tetris on my telephone.
2000. I think I do too. I have Crazy Taxi on my phone.
Crazy Taxi is a good one.
Whoa, here we go.
But I think that Mario 1 and 3 are probably because I mean that
I would agree.
ushered in tons of people into the gaming world. I mean, because if we really want to go back, then you're gonna have to go back to like just where they plugged into the antenna spot and you played Pong or
Yeah.
Tank Commander or whatever it was.
Adventure.
Yeah.
And so I mean, those were the most iconic because that's what brought games into the forefront of people as a medium for.
Yeah, like Asteroids, Space Invaders.
What I still think is
Galaga.
funny is that we were getting consoles out, but the technology that was still going to cabinets was never met. Like cabinets were always far beyond what we could ever think of for a console game.
Mhm.
I always remember games like Area 51 when it came out.
Oh, so good.
It was like I'd never seen graphics like that before in my life, and we're still sitting back with like Super Nintendos at that point. And
But the jump between NES and Super Nintendo was insane.
well, it was 8 to 16,
Yeah.
and it was huge. I'll give it that. It probably has the most iconic Zelda game on it, which is Link to the Past. You
Yeah.
know, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that because people are gonna be like, "Oh, grind of time, you fuck, you fat piece of shit."
Spirit Tracks is the best.
But I think we can go out on a limb and say that probably the most influential game of the generation
Which generation?
of just gaming in
all
general
time.
Oh,
of
okay.
gaming in general is I mean, at least for me and probably AJ, I don't know what Brady will say because he's a young whippersnapper,
I am.
but has to be, I think, Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, for me at least, I understand it's a shooter. It's not a racer. It's not an RPG. It's not a.
It doesn't matter.
But I
It-
think
it
that the
changed-
technology and the idea of gaming
it changed
came from that.
the way that we looked at video games as a whole. First, with just its speed, its complexity, its playability, where like anybody could sit down and play it.
And
But
it's
then-
brutally hard.
and it told a story.
Also, there was that but it was also the first time that gaming had really come to the forefront in like parental views, government views, should we regulate this? Should we let it be a free thing? Especially with things like the PMRC at the time, which was for music. They ended up creating the ESRB, which is what we get here in America. Over in the UK, they get the PEGI system.
Peggy 16.
Yeah, so, for me, Doom, I remember the first time I played it. I think anybody who grew up in that era remembers the first time they played Doom. And it was like it was like going from fucking Airstrike on Nintendo. I would play games like that, and I was like, that's a violent game, to holy shit, I just melted a fucking Keiko demon with a fucking Gatling gun.
Yeah.
And I remember,
holy shit.
I remember when Doom 2 came out, and then because you had your normal guns, you had the pistol, you had the shotgun, you had the chain gun, the rocket launcher, all that kind of stuff. Doom 2 comes out, and you have the double-barreled shotgun, and I thought that was the coolest thing to ever hit.
Every time, like, flips it down, puts in the shells, just, it's iconic as fuck.
And that's all I do, is besides the minigun. The minigun I still thought was...
Oh, yeah. So there was a way to make the minigun, like, the highest DPS, but you had to be able to click it, like, one bullet at a time. You could actually make it fire faster than it actually fires, but you had to have perfect, precise timing.
MLG mode right there.
So, yeah, I went down a huge YouTube hole probably about a year ago when talking about Doom and then how people were playing it over Telnet and direct dialing through modems on freaking 8 baud, 16 baud modems, which is nothing. Like, that connection speed is 8 kbps.
Ugh.
Kilobytes per second.
Yep, because we used to play that in Rise of the Triad against our friends down the road. We dial into their
computer.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to do that
good.
with StarCraft.
So good.
I would.
You kids don't know how good you have it.
I would
or how awesome it was back then.
I would directly dial Jacob's computer. His computer would answer, and we would play pre-built StarCraft missions, ones that he would make, and then I would make a mission. And the downside is you never think about it at the time, but you make this giant mission, and then it takes about 10 minutes for him to receive the mission information. But we loved it because once the game is going, it was so little information goes back and forth that it's able to keep up to speed.
Yeah.
Even back then, like, it's really funny thinking about how we would make Hamachi servers for playing with like 8 people, and it would still run like shit. And I don't understand how that would happen because it was a virtual private server. But still, it was just like, nope, run like poop. Whatever, There's just so many things about Doom that they brought in, that telnet dialing. They brought in the idea of multiplayer shooting. The first time multiplayer shooting had ever shown up anywhere. The speed, the complexity of the game, where they were able to keep everything on a flat plane. So, like, if a level looked like it was multi-levels, it was all on the same level.
It was just air quotes draw distance, kind of, or it was the size or perspective.
So, like,
probably.
they would have stairs and stuff, but nothing could ever go like underneath part of a level because the levels were drawn to be flat planes. So all of the technology that went into creating that game, and it's just so funny because it all started when they were working for a company that just made like software for companies, here's a clock-in or an accounting software or whatever type of software.
Like, we can make a game out of it.
And in their downtime, they recreated Super Mario for PC.
Yeah.
And that's how they got started, is they recreated frame for frame. And when they sent it to Nintendo, it's like, hey, how about you make PC ports? Nintendo shut them down. It was like, no. And I think Nintendo's made a lot of bad decisions over their time, but I think that's probably the worst one they did, because if Nintendo had been backing Doom,
oh man,
I think our gaming could have gone farther, faster, and we would have been able to push boundaries quicker than we did. And this is why gaming is still considered the PC master race. And consoles are still lagging behind because the previous console generations didn't work they didn't want to work with the PC manufacturers. They were like, well, you guys have all this special power. We don't, so piss off.
Well, the line's getting...
Oh, it's getting close now. I mean, yeah, I completely agree on that. But back then, it could have been amazing. It could have been something really great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to, hopefully, when there won't be any proprietary software or hardware besides going, I'm going to go with Xbox because they have the AMD processor in theirs instead of the Intel whatever, and that all games work on all systems, and you just dealer's choice.
Yeah, I
don't know if that'll ever happen, but I'd like to see it.
I'm really sick of Sony's bullshit where right now Bethesda, they straight up called out Sony. They're like, Sony's the reason we don't have crossplay right now. They're the only people who are completely screwing up the entire paradigm. Sony does not want to open up their network when they have one of the weakest networks.
Yeah, that's why they probably we don't want to waste money and time making our servers and stuff.
I think it's bullshit. They're charging people a monthly, amount. They should be able to provide the same service that PC users get and the same service that Xbox users get.
Yeah.
Because they're all able to connect to the same servers now. They need to... Sony really needs to pull their head out of their ass because they keep running on old tradition stuff. Like, not nearly as bad as Nintendo, but Sony also nips at that. We don't know if that's a good idea. Well, it is a good idea, especially if your player base is saying, hey, why isn't this a thing?
Yeah, even Nintendo's gotten really lax on that.
Yeah.
I mean, with their putting a Mario game, the Mario Runner, on the phone, like, there's a Mario game that isn't on a Nintendo product. It's crazy.
And it was done really well, too.
Yeah, and now they're letting Ubisoft make Mario games. And
yeah.
It's crazy to think that Sony is the one stuck behind.
When they used to push the envelope so much back in the day, and now they're like, well, sure, our console's more powerful. Like me, I still fully believe that the PS4 is way more powerful than the Xbox. Because I can play Destiny on PS4, never have frame drops, never have stutters, never have any issues, even in the most highest populated public event, which is the Titan Hive
Wizard Ritual.
Wizard Ritual.
There's so much going on at once.
If I play that on PlayStation, it never drops. If I play it on Xbox, my frames drop constantly. There's times where it'll drop down to like 20 frames per second. And I feel in modern day gaming that's unacceptable. Anything below 30 is unacceptable right now with modern console gaming. Because especially in a time where we're pushing for creators to have all of their games be at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
Word. But I do want to jump forward, and because I think Doom took us a ways, so I don't think we need to go to every system. But I think jumping to like the Nintendo 64. I mean, we also mentioned stuff in like Super Mario, but and it's Sonic the Hedgehog with
Sega
to a lesser degree.
Processing.
And going to the Nintendo 64 and looking at the James Bond 007 as the maybe not the great granddaddy would be Doom for multiplayer, but the granddaddy of multiplayer is
I would say it's the grandfather of modern first person shooter versus.
Because I remember my brother-in-law was working
you were an asshole if you picked Oddball.
Odd Job.
My cousin and I would both play like Odd Job
Fuck
and
off.
Odd
You
Job
know
and
I don't know
Jaws.
these names.
But my brother-in-law either was working at an EB Games or he was at an EB Games when one of the guys from Nintendo was coming through, and they played the level where you I can't remember what it is, but I think it's the one that's where you're being interrogated, and this is before achievements, of course, but they had those objectives where, finish the level in a minute 20 or something like that.
And get special unlockables.
Yeah, and get special unlockables. And so he said, this is what you have to do. And he played it and like threw mines as he was going. And then he just was running through the whole entire level, did what he needed to do, pop the mines, and then he was out and done. And that game, especially once you got your 4 controllers and 4 friends, even if you screen cheated, it didn't matter. I mean, it was a great experience. It was super fun.
It's really funny.
It's one of the most fun games I've ever played.
Like you have all of these great memories with that. For me, it was Turok.
Turok.
Super Bomberman, and Hexen 64.
Hexen, I just would get lost in that game because everything
that
looked the
game
same.
is so fucking huge. The minute you hit 7 portals, it's just like, all right, we're gonna do the no clip, and we're gonna go to the last level. Fuck it. Because that game was insane.
Yeah.
I loved it though. Like, those are the defining Nintendo 64 games for me. Is
Turok 2 was really fun because that had the same kind of couch co-op, but there was that one gun that my friend and I would always play with, and it was the cerebral bore.
I was about to say cerebral bore.
And because you'd shoot it, you'd have to lock on to somebody else's gray matter, whoever you were going against, and then because you're trying to find them, so you weren't really screen cheating. And then you just hear it coming at you because it's this high whistle,
and you're like,
oh no! And so then instead of trying to find them, you're just running in the opposite direction of wherever you think it's coming from.
So great! I loved it.
Turok, it was Nintendo 64 was an amazing system.
And I will be the first person to say that it is because of Turok that I do go out and kill dinosaurs now.
Mine was Dino Crisis.
That game did cause me to have violent tendencies towards dinosaurs, which is why I always keep the biggest handgun that's ever been created in my car in case I come across a T-Rex.
As a person wearing a Jurassic Park shirt, that offends me.
I'm surprised you didn't get shot in the chest.
I know, there's a T-Rex right there.
And it's a big old bullseye.
I was asking for it.
You were.
Because of the clothes I'm wearing.
Oh, shit. Slippery slope. Back it up. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's weird thinking back that, that's the console that really pushed it forward, that 3D control scheme. Whereas, like, except for your movement or your direction was controlled with your right hand, and your look was with the left. I couldn't imagine doing that nowadays. It's like Southpaw shit.
Well, you probably still would be able to just because of muscle memory. Like if you put the controller in your hand and you start playing, it would come right back to you, I think. But if you put like a different controller in your hand, it would probably be like going, instead of doing regular controls, going to inverted.
See, that's
I'm going to fly this plane. Oh, I'm going towards the ground.
I'm glad that shooter controls are pretty much universal across the board.
Yeah.
Like I never played GoldenEye, but I played Nightfire a lot, and it had such a messed up control scheme.
Yeah, because like all of your movement is done with the C buttons, and then you look with the analog stick.
Ugh.
And I honestly like can't even think of like using this as my trigger hand.
Mm-hmm. Even though it seems,
but like I do remember back in the day, I would hold the N64 controller really weird, where I would always hold it as far out, and I would like tap the with like my ring finger is how I would hit Z, and then I'd have like my pointer finger on R with my right hand, and then with my left hand thumb on the joystick. But
excuse me.
But like the rest of my hand is all the way over on that third control side,
The
on the
D-pad
far
side.
left. Yeah, I have no clue how the hell I clawed my hands into playing like that. And I think it was just a product of necessity. It wasn't until Sony came out and then they were like, here's how our controller's done, and then they brought out DualShock and they're like, look how comfortable this is.
Yeah.
Because the minute I played Red Faction on PS2, whew,
See, PS2 really didn't seem to have a lot of pull towards me. I mean, PS1 had a lot of amazing stuff. Gran Turismo 2, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Resident Evil 2.
that is a iconic
I
console.
mean, Silent Hill 2, was that on PS1? Or was that PS2?
That's PS2
Okay.
Metal Gear games.
Metal Gear Solid was an absolutely... That was the first game I ever
with
played.
Psycho Mantis.
Yep, that was the... And I don't know how you play that now. Like, because are you able to buy it on PC?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you do that. Whether you have to like unpop your controller.
No, they just let you do it.
Because I mean, before that was the coolest thing in the world when you had to swap your controller out. And I don't remember how I think I probably went to like a
I think it was
Cheat
really
Planet
cool.
or
It
something
was
like
like,
that.
I see you play other Capcom games.
Yeah.
And then it was like, put your controller down. I'll make it move left and right. And it'd go like... And I was just like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is one of the most amazing experiences of a game. And I know it's just something dumb and nichey and
Yeah, it's really weak to today's standards. But I mean,
At
back
the
in the
time,
day-
though, the things they're able to push out of that console, it was incredible.
it was insane. And that was like an early console game.
Yeah.
and that was a hard game. At least the very end of the game when you had to fight Solid Snake or Liquid Snake. And that was the first game I played through and then replayed through because you got the bandana if you played it and did a certain thing or a few things a certain way, and that was the infinite ammo. And then you also got the invisible other thing too. So I played it through because I wanted infinite ammo and to be invisible. Snake. But moving on to Dreamcast.
Ooh.
That was a system that pushed it forward. Sadly, it was not smart in a few decisions, but
So
Phantasy Star Online was huge.
the Dreamcast was a mistake. Their mistake was bringing out, here's a Sega Genesis. All right, here's a 32X. All right, here's a Sega CD. We're just gonna snap it on there. And then like not even a year later, here's a Sega Saturn. And then they're like, oh, and we're also working on a Dreamcast now. People lost brand loyalty because they just kept it was
It's like,
the
oh, here's
effect
another
where-
new thing I have to buy to play a game.
Yeah, where it was just like, oh, they're showing us new technology before the new technology's even out.
Because I so love Dreamcast is my favorite system of all time.
I
just is-
really feel like if Sega had played the game just a bit better, that they would probably still be up there in the
that we would-
console war.
and I would love that to have 4 systems instead of 3.
Yeah.
And just to see what they were able to do, because the Dreamcast was amazing. I love the controller. I love the games for it. I know I was more into JRPGs at the time, so like Grandia 2, Skies of Arcadia, Evolution.
Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Resident Evil Code Veronica was amazing and
Ready to
absolutely
Rumble
hella
Boxing.
scary.
Yeah.
Oh my word. I mean, it's not now going back to it. Of course, it's just like anything you look at it, you're like, oh, this is trash. But back then, that was gorgeous graphics. I mean,
Yeah.
Berserk Guts Rage. I remember it so cleanly as being this graphically awesome thing, but it's ham-fisted, blocky characters.
See,
but it's
like,
still so gorgeous.
I like the weird games that came out for it. So like Ready to Rumble Boxing.
Yep.
I love the shit out of that game. There was
Because it reminded you of like an updated Punch Out or Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
most definitely, and it was like so crisp and clean. The graphics were beautiful and like everything was shaded wonderfully. Like, pretty sure if I go back now and look at it, it's gonna look like vomit on a potato.
Virtua Tennis.
there was a game called I think Slip Drive or something like that, where like or Trick Style. That's it, Trick Style, where you just raced on a hoverboard. It was fucking beautiful. It was like set way in the future.
But I think the most iconic game that probably came from the Dreamcast probably has to be Jet Set Radio.
JSRF or JSR was pretty much the big hitter. Though
Space Channel 5?
Yeah.
That was that was a launch game. I don't remember how big it was, but I mean I remember Echo the Dolphin,
Yeah.
Shenmue was a huge.
Shenmue's like still has a huge cult following. Armada was a huge game for me. Just this at the time it felt like a infinite space game where you could just like keep going deeper and deeper into space and upgrading your ship, and it was a 4-player game, so you could like all be together just like going through the cosmos, and it was awesome. I fucking loved it. Though I went back and replayed it, and like the campaign's super short on that
game. Let's see here. Dreamcast,
and then of course
2.
Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi was a really fun one.
I think that everybody who owned
and
a
it still looks really good.
Owned Crazy Taxi and Seaman. Even though a lot of people may not have liked Seaman, it pushed huge boundaries because you had a video game that could understand your speech
and do it really well. It understands. I feel like it understood my speech better back then than Siri does right now.
Yeah.
Like whenever I try to do talk to text, and it's
Yeah.
usually to you guys because I'm at work or something, I'll try and talk like, I'll be over at 4. You want a Corgan door? What does that even mean, Siri?
That's so funny. But yeah, like this great vocal detection. I mean, yeah, it was a glorified Tamagotchi, which is a product of its time. But you had Leonard Nimoy and George Takei, because Leonard Nimoy was like the opening voice that opened the game, and it's just like, the Seaman has been around for a long time, and then George Takei was the voice of Seaman, and he'd be like, "It's Seaman, don't call me Seaman."
And it just was so great. I mean, and it probably was some super simple software where it just remembered past conversations. But I mean, that's amazing. It would remember your birthday.
Yep.
It'd remember what you talked about last. I mean, you could tell about your day. It was basically like a mini.
A friend.
Yeah.
It was a mini
like
therapist.
Yeah, it was a mini therapist. Oh, I had a bad day. People picked on me, and he'd remember it.
Oh, so how was your day, young sapien? He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
But that I got that game, and I remember I just loved it. I also I killed my Seaman every time. He never made it to it.
I did make a Seaman go into fruition, though I did cheat with the dates.
Okay.
But
because I would always end up, I'd forget for a few days to play or something like that, and so my tank would be all
frozen
grungy
and
nasty.
grungy.
No food. Him just sitting on the top of my tank.
Floating. Yep, I
And
actually
start
got
all
a
over
Seaman to grow into a frog. The what happens is the water drains out of it and becomes like a really lush, like jungle, and he's all like, "I'll go away, but if you tap, I'll come back." And if you tap rhythmically, he comes back and does the dance in a song. It's cool. That was your big win for Seaman.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even about the win. It was about the journey.
It was just about the experience of talking to this animal who
I-
talked back to you.
I still can't believe that the Sega Genesis pulled off all the things it did. Online gaming. If they had had a DVD player in the system, I do believe that it may have pushed it farther.
Yeah. And I still think that's the one thing that killed the Dreamcast is not having the DVD player. And then because if it did, it has everything that the PlayStation 2 had.
And super
more.
easy to pirate games.
Yeah, so if they would have fixed that. But I think moving on into modern day gaming as we know it, like in the at least PS3, PS4, or PS3 Xbox 360.
I would
Which were there any
say
games from Xbox, original Xbox? I know there's
Morrowind.
But okay, yeah.
Halo Combat Evolved.
Yep.
Halo is probably one of the.
And that is a defining.
It's the granddaddy of console shooters, if you ask me.
One, because number one was so crisp and clean, and it was just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Super fun. Just as much fun, I think, to play couch co-op as...
they made 5 seconds of gameplay fun for
Hours.
what felt like 30 hours to me when I was younger. It was probably only like an 8-hour.
It probably took us, because it's easy to get lost in that game.
Do you know how many times, like, in those earlier missions, I would just run around in a big circle? And I'm like, where the fuck am I?
Yep.
Well, I remember playing in college, just out in the dorm or the common section, playing Halo 1, and nobody
On a system link?
I don't remember if we did System Link or if we just had several controllers. But I just remember having tons of fun. Nobody used the rifles or anything. It was all pistol because the pistol was amazing. It was the first game that I can recall where you were like, I want the pistol instead of an automatic rifle.
They did that on accident. It was like a purposeful accident.
Yep.
Because they made it a 0. So, like, the minute you pull the trigger, the bullet's there. And they upped the damage on it, but it was like off a decimal, so it exponentially increased the damage when it was only supposed to be a minor damage. And they were just like, "Well, fuck it, it's already shipped."
Yeah.
and that was back before they could just roll out a patch.
No, I think they had patching abilities because that's around the time Xbox Live came out.
Was it?
Xbox Live came out with Halo 2.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, I remember the first game I ever played on Xbox Live was MechAssault.
Yeah.
And then I ended up buying Xbox Live because of that, because my friend had it. And then I ended up moving out to Ankeny, and the chick I was with, they had broadband. So, because my family never had broadband. So, the minute I moved out there, I got the Xbox Live wireless adapter. It was like only transmitted B. And it was such a jank. It was like plug it in with the cable, like a Cat 5 cable into it, and then you had to have its own power source, and you had to install a fucking driver disc. And it was pure jank, but I loved it. And I remember playing what the fuck is it? Crimson Skies.
Yeah.
Yep.
That game was so much fun.
And Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
Yeah.
KOTOR, I love that.
It helped define a genre.
I would say so, yes, but it was a genre I was never really interested in.
And Halo 2 set in stone how you're supposed to make online first-person shooters play.
Hey, look at that. They created fucking, all of that shit, but they still don't know how to create a fucking spawn point and play multiplayer.
Nope.
I think...
I don't know how many thousands of times
Fucking Bungie.
I've said, nice spawn point, Bungie. Hey, thanks, Bungie. Spawned me in front of a sniper bullet. Still, though, I have countless hours of fun.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll stop with PS3 and Xbox 360 because then we're in just
we're
a couple of years old. But I still think that some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had are from the Xbox 360 PS3 era.
I never had a PS3, and I'm really sad I never had a PS3 because
I had one right at the end.
I wanted to play Demon's Souls, and I never got a chance to play it. And now if I do play it, the servers are dead for it, so
Yeah.
I'll never have the true Demon's Souls play.
Maybe that'll be the next remaster they release.
They've been talking about it.
But it has to be Modern Warfare 1 and 2. But number 1 primarily because I believe they had a number 2 or number 1 where you could play co-op with a friend, but not in the game, I don't believe. But you could play co-op missions. And I still remember playing the AC-130 map. Was it 2?
That was 2, yeah.
Okay, so you could play I played with Luke, and he was the guy on the ground, and you played through that mission where you were in the AC-130, and nothing made you feel like more of a bad mamma jamma than when you were raining down hell and fire from an AC-130 and just popping it all around your friend
Yeah.
While he's just expecting you to take care of him because you can see everything and he only can see.
Just watching white blips turn off.
Yeah, and that just something about that. I can replay that mission over and over and over and over, and I love it every time.
Any game that has AC 130 missions it's like that's going to be the best part of your game.
But I think Modern Warfare, for me, was just one of those, not just genre, but game-defining as an industry, just in what it was able to do, especially because I loved playing the story mode, so it was a great storyteller, I thought. I still think it is, which makes me sad for why Black Ops 4 is not having a story mode. Especially like AJ has said in the past, from the one company, Treyarch, that has the best storytelling track in Black Ops, and even in World at War was a great story I liked. Had the best part in jump scare in any of the Call of Duty games for me, I think. And I even knew about it because Luke told me about it because he was playing it, and he was like, yeah, there's this time where this flare goes up and there's all these dead bodies around you, and then all of a sudden they're up, and then I was like, oh, and then a flare happened, and I was like, oh crap, this is going down. And I played on the hardest difficulty, and then I was
turning into Swiss
boom,
cheese.
Done. Boom, done. And that's also, I think, one of the things I love about the Call of Duty is that there are those times, and I think it was Modern Warfare 3, because you're in some kind of rundown area, and it's not in like number 2, like where you're in Middle East somewhere, but I feel like you're more in Shanghai-ish, Eastern, and you fall down and down and down, blah blah blah, and
into a burning ring of fire.
But there is a part where you're kind of dazed and confused like you normally happens, and you hear that ringing in your ear, if I remember correctly, and then there's 3 guys that pop up, and then you have to pick your gun up and quickly shoot.
Bang,
3 of
bang,
them,
bang.
and because it's slow-mo, but you're still, you need to be quick and on it. And I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, which means that I'm already hurt as I'm falling down, and then I have to kill these 3 guys before they even pop one shot off of me, or else I'm dead. And the thing I loved about, and still love about, the Call of Duty games is having to have that persistence and perseverance, to where you just need that one perfect run.
Yeah.
That all the stars align, and it more than likely is going to be an hour and a half from the time that you hope it's coming, but it'll happen.
Those moments always happen to me when I stopped trying. So yeah, anytime like I was just like, oh fuck it, and I'd just be like, whatever.
Throw caution to the wind.
Oh look, I got it done. Well, what the fuck ever.
I would say, there were countless awesome games on 360, PS3, but I would say BioShock would be one of the most original, awesome ideas.
See, a lot of people will disagree because they'll be like, well, System Shock actually was the precursor to that game on PC.
Well, they'd be the same people who said that saying Resident Evil or Silent Hill isn't a great survival horror when Alone in the Dark was the one who did it first and best, and blah blah blah.
Whatever.
Own.
People are always gonna have contrarian ideas. BioShock was a fucking game changer for me.
Yeah.
Holy shit. You brought that over, and it was like late. And then I remember like you suck around, you watch like the first couple levels, and you're like, all right, go at it. And I remember that game like scared me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The first time I played it, like that game was scary. Especially like once you get to like the aesthetics area.
Is that the plaster?
Oh god.
Because that was really, because I sat there and I would beat the plaster stuff with my wrench, and then all of a sudden they're bleeding, and you're like,
yeah,
what's going on here? That was an amazing game. Everything about it, and the greatest bombshell of all time in gaming, where it's the would you kindly.
Would you kindly?
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
And you didn't even notice it. You didn't. I mean, maybe somebody did, but I didn't. And after it was revealed, I was like, holy crap, that is amazing.
There's some guy out there, he's like, I noticed it.
Yeah,
I noticed it the whole time. Why would he keep saying, would you kindly?
But after it happened,
then it was also, then that final boss battle was
so good.
letdown between not Fontaine.
I remember
Between Atlas.
having fun 100% of the time with that game.
Well, we also did you save all the sisters?
Yes, I did.
So I didn't. It was kind of an annoying fight if you didn't have the timing down, and I think is that maybe what you're saying? Not the.
Well, I just thought like this whole big, grand, beautiful game, and then it's the most video gamey boss that you could imagine.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Well,
still-
I mean, it's no,
It was still good.
it's no BioShock Infinite.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about shitty endings?
Wave 3, kill them. Yeah.
Keep killing the waves. Oh, here come the people to help you. And call in the songbird.
Yeah. But still, that first game came out of nowhere. Came out from the depths
Ooh, yeah.
and messed you up.
I would have to agree with that.
say that some of the most fun gaming I ever did on the Xbox 360 was when I was able to get a full party of 4 and we either played zombie games. So
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead,
Left 4 Dead. Yep.
Dead Island.
Yep.
Just like anytime we got 4 people who all sort of knew each other, at least we could like be cohesive.
Yeah.
And then I would pick Lewis and be like, "Screw y'all, black man's winning. Fuck you." I loved it.
I used to hate you because you'd run all the way to the exit,
I'd
and
be
then
like,
you'd close the door, and we're all being beaten down by zombies. But then the
"You're
other,
all being beaten down by the big berserker."
but the fun part was when AJ would get sucked in by a smoker, and we're just like, "Bye, AJ.
See you later. You're fucked, boy.
Sucker!" And you just see this outline of AJ being dragged up a wall.
I hated it. And it's just like, I know this is just desserts, but like so many memes at that time too with Lewis and pills here,
Yeah.
grabbing pills here.
You know what I don't hate? I don't hate vests.
I did see that there might be a Left 4 Dead 3 coming out,
Really?
and I will be all over that like stink on cheese.
I don't believe it because that company does not know how to count to 3.
Okay, it's Left 4 Dead 4 is coming out. It's gonna be
Yeah,
like the
it would
iPhone
be
10.
Yeah.
It'll be Left 4 Dead, but instead of 4 on the 4 Dead, it'll actually just say FOR. We're rebranding it, Left 4 Dead. Or FER, Left 4 Dead. This one's taking place in the South.
Yeah.
Not like Louisiana South, like Left 4 Dead 2, but like deep Texas South.
The thing I liked about what is it? Not Left 4 Dead, but the other one you just said.
Dead Island.
There we go. Don't know why I could see it in my head. The thing I liked about that
Sam
one,
B!
yeah. The thing I liked about that game is
Who do
that
you voodoo, bitch?
the thing I liked about it is that it was so bright and sunny that it wasn't. I mean, there were times when you were kind of scared, but you could still be riffling through like a little
You
something
get in
or
that
other. Like
fucking jungle, you're gonna be scared shitless
Yeah.
because they introduce these fucking guys who like their hands have been gnawed away, and so they just gnaw this bone in their arm into points, and they just come out of nowhere, and they're like, "Rah!" And it's just like fucking scary shit, man. Some of the scariest shit. And I mean, that game like had some good jumps, but at the same time, you know, Sam B, he's like looking like a motherfucking postcard. Like when you're coming down the stairs and you're looking out at the ocean, he's just like looking like a motherfucking postcard. I loved it. It was so fucking wonderful. I'm pretty sure you could find that clip and snip it in there, just like a little
Looking like a motherfucking postcard.
As long as we're talking about Valve, Portal.
Oh. Took a 1 hour game and blew up the world with it.
Yep. Man, I keep forgetting how awesome the 360 was.
I do too. There's days when like I'll just like look at my 360 collection and be like, why don't I play any of these games? Like I loaded up Fable 1 today. Fable
Fable was an
there's
amazing.
something we haven't touched on, and I mean, yeah, because Peter Molyneux can go eat a big bag of dicks, but that game's wonderful. You know, Braid came out on the 360. There's so many iconic games that came out on the 360
I mean,
that
Gears of War. I know that's not something you're into, but Gears of War.
I love
was,
the first one. What are you
First one's
talking about?
fun.
I love the second one.
They're fun.
I even enjoyed the third
tunnel
one.
shooters, shooting galleries.
I mean,
Tunnel snakes rule. Fallout 3.
Yeah.
We're the tunnel snakes.
Yeah,
we
Fallout.
rule.
The funny thing about the was it No Clip documentary, where it's like what's his name?
Paul
Todd Hines. Todd Howard.
Yeah.
Todd Howard. And he's talking about how they needed some ideas for vaults or something like that, and somebody came up with the idea of the whatever vault had Gary's, and he's like thought it was the dumbest idea in the world, but then he saw it play out, or he was like, "Yeah, I'll go for it," and then he saw it, and he's like, "This is the most hilarious thing."
Gary 6.
Yeah.
Gary 7.
Dude,
Gary 8.
speaking of vaults, I watched some
Gary.
video on New Vegas where the vault was like they had to kill the
The election vault.
yes. Oh my god.
One of the coolest vaults out there. So, if you don't know, there was a vault where you had to vote for president. But voting for president entailed voting who's going to die. So what would happen is you would vote, and then you would go downstairs to become the overseer, and you'd get to watch the video, and what would happen is you would watch this movie, and then a hidden wall would open, and there's like the big black robots that roll around.
sentry bots.
Yeah, it's just
were
like
like
five sentry
five of
bots
them.
with rockets, just goes and just kills you. I was able to kill him finally at one point. But what happened was people found out that they were voting to kill each other. After a while, they're like, the overseers don't exist. We send them down there and they die. Somehow it got figured out, and so it caused the entire vault to just like break down economically, and they all just ended up killing each other with their bare hands. And I mean,
And then later on, you learned that they weren't gonna actually. It was if you didn't decide who was gonna be overseer, that they were gonna gas the place.
yeah.
And
so
then
you were gonna die no matter what.
And later on, you learned like they said, "Oh yeah, we were never gonna kill anybody. We just wanted to see if you guys what would happen under the circumstance." So you could have said, "No, we're not gonna vote," and it'd be like, "Okay." I watched that video. I'm like, "What the?"
I liked it.
I-
New Vegas
City
was a
and
great game.
fucking
I liked
rules.
it. Besides the bugs, but it was fun.
it wasn't even the bugs that I had an issue with that game. It was just the ending felt so unimpactful to me, and I think it's because I accidentally got pushed into doing Yes Man, because somehow I'm out in the middle of nowhere exploring, and I fail the House Wins 5, Part 5, and I'm like, how the fuck did I just fail that? So I reload. Fail. How did I fail this quest? I didn't kill a single fucking thing. I didn't do anything wrong. The game just bugged out and was like, you failed this quest, so now you can't work with House, so you can't do the House Wins. Okay, well then I guess I'll go work with these crazy Centurion guys. Nope, fuck that. They're too evil. They're stupid, idiot Kaiser worshippers. Okay, well, how about the desert guys? They fucking suck too. Everybody sucked. The NCR sucked ass. The fucking powder kegers sucked ass. Everybody sucked ass. And I hated that. There was like, and I understand it was probably like some sort of thing like, no matter what you do, you're fucked. And like, I completely understand like that kind of narrative being pushed in a video game. You know, Spec Ops The Line did it the best.
Yes, they did.
But I mean, everybody's got to try to eat a little bit of that pie. I tell you what, you know, I think I've gone back and I've replayed it, and the strong suit of that game isn't the main quest. It's the DLCs. So Big Empty, or Big Mountain, whatever you want to call it. The giant, what is it called? The silver. It's based off of a movie where there's a giant vault full of gold.
Fort Knox,
No, it's a old Western movie, but
Fistful of Dollars.
no, like
El Dorado.
yeah, the Grand El Dorado, I believe, where you have to go through like this completely poisonous town, and you're all like fighting against each other, but you also all have to work together to get into this vault and then run away with the gold. And there's a way to do it so you can take all like 45 gold bricks, which each weigh, I think, 20 pounds or 50 pounds or something crazy. My dad did it. I don't know how the fuck he did it, but he was like, yeah, I got all the gold out of there. How didn't you? You suck. Thanks, Dad. That game really came into its fullness when you played all the DLCs for it. The Arizona one where you go through the Grand Canyon was crazy good. I feel like New Vegas like is underappreciated as far as DLC goes, but I think the main quest is garbage. I feel like Vegas is less populated and feels more dead than Fallout 3, which everybody says Fallout 3 feels dead and less populated. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where everybody has their preferences. I prefer Fallout 3 base game to Fallout New Vegas's base game, but I prefer New Vegas's
DLC to because I would agree. The DLC for Fallout 3, besides the Alaska one, Operation Alaska, that was a good one. And whichever one you went into like VR, that was kind of cool. But then the other
was
ones,
Operation Anchorage.
Oh, it was all the same one.
Yeah, and then the one that sucked on it was Mothership Zeta.
I didn't mind that one, but it really wasn't that. It was. I basically
the
like
pit
Operation.
Was short.
Yeah, the pit was really short. And then the Bayou one was kind of cool, but
dude, that's a cream of the crop right there as far as DLC for Fallout 3. That whole they go to Maryland, just the fucking backwoods. You got the rednecks out there creating moonshine, shooting you, and they're like kind of ghouled out and kind of not, because they got fungus growing in their brain. And you start off the game and it's like they took out part of your brain, I think. Is that it? No.
I can't remember.
No, there's a brain in a jar.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Brady's pretty silent because he never really played these games, so I feel bad that he's not being included in this. So
It's interesting.
Brady.
You know. But, I mean, these were games that, I mean, it's kind of funny that when we talk about Xbox, we jump straight to Bethesda games, but Xbox and Bethesda have always had a really good working relationship ever since Morrowind. And, I mean, that was the first time we ever got DLC on a game.
And speaking of Oblivion.
Horse armor.
I bought it.
And I must say, what was the DLC with the Duke of Mania and Duchess of Dementia?
I don't remember. I bought all the DLC for that game and then never played it.
Because you got stuck in the painting.
And
which still makes me... I couldn't laugh at the time, but I can laugh now, AJ.
Yeah.
It's super funny.
It is. It's so fucking funny that my fucking character that I work so... And, like, I love that character because the way I made his face, like, he looked like he was constantly about ready to cry. Like, his face was just like, I'm sad, mate. Just looked like a really sad Australian. Just, oh, mate, I'm just feeling a bit
Sir
sad.
Slaughter.
Yeah. And my guy's just like, I'm pouty and just sad. Sir Slaughter, come get your prize. I remember you coming over and just watching me play that for a long time.
Because before we had YouTube, that's how I got my Let's Plays.
Yep.
Just watch other people play.
Yeah.
You know what? I was ahead of the curve, and I should have stayed ahead of the curve. I'd be raking in that YouTube money. You know what else pisses me off?
Huh.
I was going to buy Bitcoin back when it first came out, and then I read somewhere that it was fucking stupid investment not to do it. I was like, oh, okay.
That's a loss right there. Is this loss?
This is loss.
All right. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up. Besides Doom, because AJ and I have already kind of said, at least for us, Brady, what would be an old school game, and I mean like old, that you would say quintessentially is one of the best or the best game that defines gaming as a whole?
I would still say Tetris just because it's unwavering awesomeness. It's never gonna not be fun, and it's always gonna be on everything.
It's the perfect game. The guy went out. He created a game that the mechanics are solid.
You can rotate it or move left and right.
Yeah, and then plunge.
And it's still
The
played
whole idea
competitively
of
too.
it,
That's
yeah.
really fun too.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. Like, there's a Twitter bot that plays Tetris. It's just like everybody votes like rotate, move left, move right, plunge, and it just like shows the piece where it's at, and then every like few hours it just updates where the pieces moved based on the votes. It's crazy. It's just I would have to agree with Brady where that guy created a game that's timeless.
Yep.
No matter what happens, everybody's going to want to play Tetris. There's never going to be a time where it's like, you know, it's a game that you throw on your fucking phone.
Is fuck Tetris now.
Yeah. You know, it's a game you throw on your phone and you're waiting in the waiting room to go see your doctor, and you just throw down a few levels, and then you're like, oh, whatever. It's perfect for that.
There you go.
I'd actually have to agree that. Well, I think that Doom was a defining game. I think Tetris is a more ubiquitous.
It's more universal.
Yeah, its ability to touch, and just like Mario, I think it's just one of those games that is the gateway.
Yeah,
but I still think Doom,
just like marijuana.
Yeah, I think Doom is the marijuana, or Tetris is the marijuana for
Doom's heroin.
Yeah.
And then after that, I need a fix.
You know, I've smoked marijuana before, and now look at me. I'm on every single Schedule 1 drug at the same time.
Wow, so uppers and downers.
Oh.
So you're just flatline?
Yeah, he's
I'm
just
in
normal.
Limbo. I've never felt more normal in my life.
It's so weird.
I kind of like these episodes because I just enjoy going back into memory lane and remembering certain games. Even though I'm sure we've done this a bazillion times, it feels like, but I like it.
I like these episodes as well. I mean, it gives us the availability to go off tangent and just be silly, but also to really talk about things that we grew up with. And I think that at the core is like why I do this, because
to reminisce.
Yeah, it's nice to think back of the good times of my life and not focus on the negative, which I do far too often with my life. Instead of thinking about positives and things that brought me joy and fun, you know, I'm able to do that here. And for some reason, when I'm at home, like, I can't push myself into that mindset.
I forgot a game. The most timeless game ever is the stick.
In Hoop?
No, just a stick.
I don't think I've ever.
You've never just played with a stick?
Oh, I thought you were like an actual game.
That's
called...
why I said and hoop, because then you smack the hoop with the stick and you make it roll. Though that was before the wheel, though. So I mean, you just had to have a stick.
Yep.
Caveman had stick, big stick, made it go boom.
And fire happened.
Fire. That's a great game.
I love that game.
Fire's so good.
I was in charge of the fire when I was a kid.
So your parents let you install the fire DLC at a young age.
Yep. I got to start the fires in the house. I got to, because we had a fireplace at one of our houses in New York. Didn't have like the insulator, so it didn't provide a ton of heat, but I still got to light a fire. When we went camping at the Thousand Islands, I was in charge of getting all the firewood and maintaining the fire.
It's like you became a man.
Yeah. I was like 6.
I have created fire.
David McFire.
There's one time I thought I was going to catch the trees on fire because I'm sure that flames weren't that high, but as a small kid, it felt like they were just super
huge,
high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when I was driving here, somebody had some sort of contraption. I thought they had their lawnmower on fire, but what it was they pulled out the engine from the lawnmower and they threw a cage around it. So they just have like a push mower with a cage and they just throw wood in there and they had a fire going on their driveway, and I was like, well, that's weird. But I was like, why are they burning their mower? Did it catch fire? And they're just like, well, that's how it is now. Let's watch it burn, honey.
Let's sit the chairs around.
Oh, man. That was a weird thing to see.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Whoa, here comes that crazy sound again. Again, I would like to thank you so much for your listenership. I know, for me at least, it means a lot to interact with you guys and gals and be able to touch your lives and do awesome stuff and make you laugh. Because I'm really not this funny in real life.
The mic brings it out of us.
Yeah, the microphone really makes me a rambunctious motherfucker. I love doing this, and I'm just happy to be here.
Hell yeah.
Word.
I don't know how my other podcaster dudes feel. They don't want to bring out that raw emotion. That's understandable. But
I mirror AJ.
I grew up in a strict Eastern European family, and I carry that with me.
No emotion. It's weak. Yeah.
Well, at least
I show more emotion than my dad. My dad shows more emotion than his dad, but it's a slow gradient.
Like at least
Troubled waters.
you weren't
run deep.
Catholic, because then you just make everyone feel guilty all the time. And nothing stings like that Catholic guilt.
What have you been doing with your life, AJ?
Nothing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sweet. And that's what brought us here.
What, that we're all losers?
Yeah.
But we're winners in our own way.
Yeah.
We're jack of all trades and master of none. And we come here once a week to brighten up your life.
Hopefully.
Yep. And we're really sorry about that one week when the episode didn't come out. We had some technical difficulties.
Dave's computer went to sleep, and so did the podcast.
We recorded it, and then it went away.
Yep.
We got like 22 minutes out of it.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for donating to our Patreon if you do. Thank you so much for being awesome. And my name has been AJ.
My name is David.
And I'm Brady.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful week.
Halo's the best game ever.
Bitch.